A very good morning to you all. Welcome to Sunrise Daily today. We're coming to you live from Gombe in northeastern part of the country where Gombe Investment Summit is holding. I am Chamberlain Oso.
Indeed, we have tasted the clement Gombe breeze, and we're happy to report live from Gombe this morning. Good morning. Welcome to Sunrise Daily on Channels Television. I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo.
I can also tell you that there aren't too many hamlets here except you find yourself in the villages. Good morning and welcome. I'm Ayo Makinde.
When you said taste, I was like, I was looking at you the way. When did you go out to taste something? I thought, oh, okay, the wind.
You should taste something, Chief.
Okay. But I don't think it'll be wild and said maybe afterwards.
Maybe afterwards.
Maybe.
But also, yeah, go ahead.
Yesterday, we did talk about ASU. We were looking forward to what was going to happen. And we got up this morning with the news that the academic staff, Union of Universities, have suspended their over 8-month-old strike. February 14 was that day.
And today is October 14.
And, well, much as they say it's conditionally, so we're waiting for a statement from the national president and the leadership. They had this NEC meeting, and so that news gladly came through. So we're waiting. Everybody's waiting to see or to hear when the lecturers will get back to school. And at the moment, what a sigh of relief everyone can heave now.
And just to note that the ASU president said it's conditional. So what were the things that gave? Well, details are still sketchy at the moment. We can only rejoice, and commend the Speaker of the House of Representatives, who told us, that the strike will be over in a matter of days after that meeting that he held with the president. And ASU president said, for the first time, we have seen light at the end of the tunnel. But significantly, as you said, Ayo, yesterday, the institutions, the tertiary institutions, should be better off for it after now. And that's why, Mr. Shodeke is saying, if the federal government doesn't meet its own part, we're going back to strike without notice. That doesn't give us a cause, to rejoice.
I think that underlines the word suspended, not called off. When you suspend someone,
those tribunal terms, right?
Yeah.
So
Still
suspended the strike, not called off the strike. So that's instructive. Secondly, it's good to know that some grounds have been shifted. You shift ground on this side, you shift ground on that side, other parties and all. So I think what is important at this point is to ensure, hey, for God's sake, it's public universities we're talking about here. Everyone who is anyone today, one way or the other, enjoy the privileges of public institutions in this country. Primary, secondary, university, and all of that. Let's deal with the issues. Those issues are not just going to go. We can't wish them away. They have to be dealt with. Generally, that's something you always say. Look, you are there because you have work to do. So just get the job done. It's a list of things that have been agreed since 2001. This is what? 2022? That's about 20 years. I don't even know. I'm not very good at maths now. So the issues need to be addressed. Let's just not wait until things get worse anymore.
All right.
Schools need to
I'm not sure the papers caught a lot of that because they might have put to bed before the news came. But we'll take a moment and then return to you with some of the front pages in a moment. All right, welcome back. Let's take you through some of the dailies, and we'll start in with Leadership Friday today. Did I hear Ayo tell us it's Friday, and he did give us a date today? Somebody missed something.
Yes, no, I told you it's October 14, February 14 to October 14. That's exactly.
That was during the
Well, it was a date given. Come on, guys.
Oh, wow.
You don't
Okay.
have to-
I think he's enjoying the Gombe breeze.
Yes.
It's allowed. Let him go ahead, But look at the big story on the front page of Leadership here today. As out-of-school children's scourge worsens, Nigeria risks losing out on literate, skilled workforce. That is the big one here today. And, you may do well to connect several dots regarding the education sector, how we need a lot of help. We can do way much more than we're currently doing at the moment. But leadership is focusing on that now. There's several perspectives that they bring to bear on this one. The age range for out-of-school children in Nigeria, they say between 6 to 11. And then there's a lot of breakdown, actually, which you also see. It means almost 10% of Nigeria's, 216 million population are headed for a lifetime of illiteracy.
You know
that should raise a lot of concern for anyone.
What's disturbing about that? I mean, it's not something that is new. I think it was former President Obasanjo that also said this thing, whether we like it or not. If we don't prepare these children for the future, we are preparing them for something, whether we like it or not.
Either way.
Exactly. So if we do not get them educated as we should, which workforce are we going to use in the future? And don't also forget that the world of the future is a digital one. So if you don't even have the basic knowledge, basic education, how in the universe are you going to learn, digital knowledge? So if we do not prepare the children today, at whatever age, for whatever it is, we're preparing them for something. You saw in that conversation we had with that 29-year-old in Kaduna yesterday, heading a government parastatal. That's not in recent time have we had that, but so it's because he's been prepared.
Yeah.
So.
And we saw a woman too heading, one of the government agencies, and she was articulate and represented the women folk well. And speaking of which, this worries me from this headline. Almost 60% of girls in the core northern states are out of school. You know what they say about educating a woman and you educate a nation? If 60% of girls in the core north are not in school, so many nations are in jeopardy, and I'm hoping that we're going to have that conversation on the program today.
85%. Go to that next one. Chamberlain, you called our attention to it, so I'm just going to go there. 85% of jobs that will exist in 2030 have not yet been founded. That's 8 years away. Just to call your attention to the fact.
That's why I said there's so many components to that report. Because if you want to go a little further, you may check and find out that if not 30 to 40% of the courses that we're doing today will be relevant in several years to come. And there's so many dynamics actually. But
too many.
That's leadership, anyways, this morning. Leadership Friday, I should say, right?
Leadership on Friday. And from there, let's go to this Nigeria, and it focuses on, a very, very interesting subject that has been on for some time now. What are the lessons learned? Maybe we'll find out in the coming days. But it leads with this: not guilty, not free. Despite the Court of Appeal ruling on Kano, that's the IPOB leader, AGF Malami says FG will consider pre-rendition option. Acquittal too complex for human understanding. That's attributed to Ozekome. So what are the lessons that we have learned from this trial so far? What are the lessons for self-determination? What are the lessons for, the IPOB leader himself? What are the lessons for the socio-economic and political unrest in the Southeast at the moment? We could go on and on, but there's no point starting this conversation. But it's important to ask the questions all the same. And this one, just beneath the picture there, interests me, and I'm sure it will interest you also. APC knocks Igige for not endorsing Tinubu during television interview. That's a page 10 read. Is the APC just finding that out now? The conversation has been on for a while.
No, they actually spoke about it in different fora, so maybe somebody else is speaking about it this time.
This time around. Well, it's a page 10 read if you are looking to getting more information about that. That's this Nigeria for you this morning.
I'm not even going to try to understand politicians. I'm not going to try. Okay, let's switch to the Daily Trust newspaper today. And this is talking about banditry. Kaduna safer after military bombardment, as ascribed to El Rufai. Find the details on the inside pages of the paper this morning, page 4 to be precise. Military doing what we've been yearning for, says arming Amotekun, other local security outfits, not the solution. Atom gives FG 1 month deadline to approve AK-47 license. Well, of course, if you missed our interview of yesterday on Sunrise Daily,
you can just go back.
Daily Trust,
so
1
month deadline.
Well,
that's what he says, right?
yeah, that's
So after 1 month, what
happens?
Hey, he is the chief security officer of his state. Don't forget that. So don't also forget this phrase, by any means necessary.
I need to check again. I thought I read somewhere. Did he actually give a 2-week deadline initially?
And he has reviewed it yet again to 1 month.
No,
Okay, well, if there's 1 month deadline,
governor,
deadlines can be reviewed, I guess.
Exactly.
is the only governor going ahead to arm without the necessary approval? There's been a lot of talk in that direction as well. So what are the consequences?
Well, I guess we'll see.
This decision
Has that
to arm
happened? It
local
hasn't
security
happened.
networks.
So let's just wait. First it was 2 weeks, now it's 1 month. Who knows?
Okay, so we'll keep our eyes on Ondo and Benue.
Consultations are going on.
All right.
Just this one. BVAS will be game changer in 2023 elections, as subscribed to Jega, former INEC chairman. Let me believe that that's something to cheer.
Well, take a look at News Direct. PDP crisis. I mean, that leads us to that. To this one, from BVAS to PDP. I've accepted Atiku Okowa, but Ayu must go. Wike insists. Boycott party campaign in Kaduna. Says accepting Ayu to resign after elections is foolish. So there you go. That is it. That's the last one this morning. Yep. So that ends our look at some of the dailies here for you this morning. But we will be back in just a moment. Don't go away.
Gombe has captured the imagination of traders, business caravans, and enterprising wanderers from within and outside Nigeria. Our position is boosted by our strategic location at the center of the Northeast sub-region and proximity to neighboring countries around the Lake Chad Basin. Enterprising and peace-loving population, unity in diversity, comparative advantage in agriculture, commerce, and abundance of natural resources like limestone, gypsum, uranium, coal, oil and gas, kaolin, etc. Gombe also boasts of great potentials in irrigation and hydropower generation through the Dadinkoa, Balanga, and Cham dams.
And welcome back to Sunrise Daily, where we coming to you live from Gombe. The Investment Summit is holding. It's GOINVEST 2022. We've got two gentlemen joining us to shed light on what this is about, the backstory. Yes, we know it's about investment. Dr. Ishaku Mohammed is the Special Advisor to the Governor on Budget Planning and Development Partner Coordination Office. And then sitting beside him is Mohammed Magiji, who is the Commissioner for Finance and Economic Development. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Good morning.
So, lots of funding and planning required for this summit to go on. So, gentlemen, let me start with you, Dr. Mohammed. In terms of the planning, the mindset, maybe you should just take us through why did the state consider it necessary to come up with this investment summit?
Okay, thank you very much, Chamberlain. I think we have to go back. The vision of His Excellency right from the beginning has been to transform Gombe State. And upon coming into office, he undertook a detailed needs assessment exercise to determine what the people's needs are, or what priorities, and so on. And this formed the foundation for the 10-year development plan, which was launched last year, 2021 to 2030. And it's fully in alignment with the Sustainable Development Goals and is predicated on 5 pillars. 1, the economic development pillar, infrastructure development pillar, sustainable environment pillar, governance, administration, and capacity, institutional capacity pillar. So now we have the plan, and it's fully in alignment with the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, this summit is ensuring that we are to tell the world that we are ready for business to attract investments into the state and create jobs for the teeming populace. So it's a strategy to achieve the goals encapsulated inside the plan.
Well, Mr. Magaji, I mean, the state has talked about how they rank really low in terms of revenue from federation accounts. So funding may be a subject matter here. So how is the state going about funding all of this?
Well, thank you. I need to also go back and give you a brief background of how the state has been able to, realign all its finances to be able to get to where we are today, and also think that we're ready to, begin to, get investors coming to invest in Gombe. What we actually started was to reform financial management reforms, which has now taken root. We've been able to block leakages. Talking about revenues, we've been able to increase our revenues. When this government came into being, the revenues were at about 6 billion. That's the internally generated revenues annually. Today we're over 10 billion, we're looking at 12 billion. So we've doubled internally generated revenues. But as you're all aware, the revenues from the Federation has dwindled. And of course that has caused a strain to all subnationals, not only Gombe. But what have we done to be able to have resources even as they are little? We've been able to reduce recurrent expenditures significantly. This has given us the opportunity to now move those excesses to capital. That now gave rise to the opportunity for government to invest more in infrastructure. And of course, the infrastructure investment has greatly helped investors to have more confidence in Gombe, because the environment is now ready. We have better roads, we have better electricity supply in Gombe, we have better water supply. Better healthcare means if you're well, you're able to do business. And that is one of the reasons why we came tops in the ease of doing business in the year 2021. Because if you look, the indices First indices was about infrastructure. How have you been able to improve infrastructure? And Gombe came tops. How have you been able to provide security? Gombe came tops. Have you been able to get skilled labor? Gombe also came tops. So this actually has prepared Gombe for investment. We have done the reforms. We have been able to release funds from, the recurrents to the capitals. We've been able to get our people ready. We've been able to encourage our business people. And now we believe people should come into Gombe from outside to complement what our businesses, are doing in Gombe, so that we can be able to move to the next level. There is no gainsaying that there is need for government to provide the enabling environment for us to take away our youths from the streets. The only way we can achieve that is for us to have more investments in Gombe. Government cannot be able to employ everybody, but one business can employ even much more than government.
I know that we'll get into many of those other issues, Mr. Bagaji, but let me come back to you, Dr. Mohammed. Yeah. I'm actually very glad that you talked about the Sustainable Development Goals.
Absolutely.
Because these things are just mouthed most of the time. So for a government to be thinking not just about talking about it, but actually planning the development of the state around those Sustainable Development Goals, I think it is something to cheer. And you've also spoken about the background to it and all of that. At the end of the day, taking a little bit from what Mr. Magaji said, is the people. It's called Sustainable Development Goals because they need to be sustained.
Absolutely.
And it cannot sustain itself. It has to be by the people.
Yeah.
So talk to us about how the people are carried along, how the people have been factored into the planning, because many times there is the assumption that this is what people need, and we just give it to them, whether they asked for it or not. And at the end of the day, the people, you actually build infrastructure, and it's the birds of the air, the fish of the sea, and all of those things that will be using them. So how have the people been carried along in such a way that it is indeed something for the people that they wanted?
Okay, thank you very much. Right from the beginning of preparing the plan, His Excellency was quite clear that people should be carried along. That's why if you look at all the other state development plans, Gombe ranks top in terms of the most comprehensive stakeholder consultations from the ward level to the local government level to the state level. And apart from that, the stakeholder consultations carried, and at the state level, we had a situation where virtually all our people, all our people have put in their priorities, including our people from the diaspora, because we provided a platform to be able to, contribute from wherever you are in the world. So that is, now I can tell you that the DEVAGOM, as Development Agenda for Gombe, is fully owned by the people, because right from the beginning, from the foundation, the consultations have been very, very robust. And that is,
If I can quickly, sorry, if I can quickly follow up on that. So it's a 10-year plan.
Yes.
The lifespan of this government is going to last till another, 4 years? 4 or 5 years from now?
Well, the first tenure is ending 2023.
Okay.
And then we're confident that His Excellency will get a second term.
Okay.
And,
I'm surprised if you're not confident.
The reason I ask that is, there is no government in our current democracy that will last up to 10 years. It's every 4 years, so it's an 8-year plan.
Absolutely, yes.
So there is the hope that there will be continuity.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely,
absolutely. But, it is that which is the challenge. We've seen situations where even if the succession came from the same political party, some policies have been truncated, that were stopped. So is there a sustainability plan to this sustainable development goal?
Yeah, absolutely. As you're very much aware, development plans cannot be legislated because usually the people determine what, when they own it, they will essentially defend it. Now, the DEVAGOM has actually been adopted by the State House of Assembly to ensure that it is like the guiding document for implementation of all programs. Subsequently, all our budgets are in alignment with the goals, goals contained inside the plan. Now, I was discussing with, incidentally, Chamberlain yesterday, and I said that Gombe is lucky. That continuity has become a culture for us because every government that comes in, believes that it's accountable to the people. So we don't have issues of abandoned projects all over the place. And this has actually been fully embraced by the current administration of Muhammadu Inoya to ensure that what was inherited was completed because it's in alignment with the vision, our journey towards development. So the ownership of the plan by the people is actually what will continue to sustain it. Now, you talked about 10 years. Yes, within the plan, there is, these 2 years is actually a review period because the first half would now say, okay, look at how far we have gone. We're tracking the plan through our Coordinating Research and Economic Intelligence Bureau. So we're noting where we need to strengthen and the rest of them. So that review period will now redefine.
Just to quickly add to that, has this government continued the policies of the last administration, the immediate past administration?
We have done, well, it's significantly projects that have committed, have had resources of Gombe committed into them, yes, like in infrastructure and the rest of them. We have actually invested a lot, yes, a lot to make sure that they are completed because it doesn't make sense, according to His Excellency, that people have already invested money, Gombe money into this and not be able to complete the projects for the benefit of the people.
The reason I ask is that's what is going to give us hope about the continuity of the policies of this administration.
Absolutely, I agree with you, Buki. Yes.
I would have loved you to continue, the follow-up on the development plan, but let me bring it to Commissioner Magaji. It's a 10-year development plan, DEVAGOM, and one of the conversations that will be had today is about achieving a green economy. How have you incorporated achieving a green economy for Gombe in that 10-year development plan? Specifically now, what are the areas, the sectors of comparative advantage, that you're selling to investors in this development plan?
Well, talking about the environment and the green economy, it's a pillar actually. The environment pillar is part of the plan. And on coming of the administration of His Excellency Muhammadu Inoya, one of his first projects was the Gombe Goes Green. Says we call it 3G. Government is planting 4 million trees in the first term of government. Already we've achieved over 3 million trees. That's an average of 1 million trees annually. That's to ensure that we are able to, get the environment greener, also the air better, and of course reducing deforestation. Now, aside that, if you've gone around the streets, you would have seen that we've replaced all our street lights with solar-powered street lights. So that is also to encourage, reduce gas emission, take away the use of generators to power street lights. And that alone is an encouragement for the government and also for us to be able to earn carbon credit, for us to be able to also participate in green financing, because these are actions that should be taken to protect the environment, and that allows us to go into the green, financing sector. And of course, we are looking at the green bonds because they are tenured at longer, periods and at very, very low, rates. We are looking at refinancing some of our, liabilities in a way that we would be able to release more funds for development and more funds to go into protecting the environment, because that is one of the critical aspects of the green financing. Whatever you're able to reduce, from what you pay out as loans, you segregate and put some of it into ensuring that you're also making the environment better. So these are things that this government is looking at. It's part of the plan, and we're working towards that. And we discussed that. It was one of the panel's discussions during the summit. And we've seen a lot of interest being generated,
But it's a give and take situation. Manufacturing too also has been incorporated into your green economy.
Yes.
And you have your Muhammadu Buhari Industrial Park
coming up, yes.
So, what are the, prospects of that industrial park?
Wow. The industrial park is a 1,000 hectare park. It's just close to the 40 megawatt Dadinkowa Dam. Mind you, 40 megawatt dam is also green.
Okay.
So you're supplying light to the industrial park through green, a green system. You're not using generators or other, forms or coal or whatever. So that itself has placed.
What's the form of power generation?
Yes, the power generation is from the hydropower plant. So that itself has categorized the park as a green park. So that gives us the edge, that gives us the advantage that we are not polluting the environment. We are creating a park, but we are also mindful of the environmental hazards that come with it. The park also has a waste management system that is being built to ensure that we do not also pollute the environment with whatever waste that comes from these factories that will be in the park. And the park is segregated into different, sectors and arms. You have the agro, you have the manufacturing, you have the small scales. Everybody is incorporated. And of course, there is even provision for housing within the park. We're also putting fiber optics to the park, because technology is what drives businesses today.
Absolutely.
And what we are doing is to make sure that we have a park that is comparable to any park anywhere in the world. Okay.
Commissioner, there is a question Bukola asked the other time, and I know that Dr. Mohammed may want to speak to it as well. Because it's about investments, right? And part of the theme has industrialization in it. She asked about competitive advantage. What is it that anyone watching now, listening to you, would say, of all the 36 states in Nigeria, Gombe has this edge in this industry or in this sector of the economy, that if I put my money there, I'll get ROI and it'll be sustainable?
Thank you very much. Let me take you back to the fact that we're number one in the ease of doing business today.
Now, you said that. We can give you an award for
that. We can
give you another award for that. But I'm asking, what sector? Is it agriculture? Is it?
We are coming to that. Okay. I just wanted to make it clear.
We heard you the first time. You need another award?
Yes, we do. And we're angling for another one this year. Yeah. So the competitive advantage of Gombe, for one, we are in the center, the middle of the northeastern zone. Our borders come across all these other 5 states. We are just a few kilometers, or rather 100, or just 150, maximum 200. You are in Borno, which is the farthest from us. And then Borno is the gateway to Niger, Chad, and Central Africa. So having Gombe in the middle, a secure Gombe, the safest state in the Northeast, one of the safest states in Nigeria. And then we have the agricultural potentials. I can tell you that one of the companies that is just setting up, Amtech, is based in Port Harcourt, but has come to Gombe to invest. Their factory is already 40–50% completed. Why did they come? Security, access to raw materials, and then access to market. So this is part of our comparative advantage.
Okay. So what are the raw materials that Gombe is noted for? What's the best of your agricultural yield that Gombe is noted for that you're selling to the outside world?
Now, one of the major products that is in demand in the whole world now is wheat. Today, Gombe is number 2 in terms of wheat production in Nigeria. So if only wheat is what we will concentrate on with the issues in Ukraine, I think Gombe stands a better chance to even place itself on the world map, not only in Nigeria.
Okay. And we see hectares, thousands of hectares of, arable land as we travel down. They're not developed. What's your plan to increase agricultural yield, particularly for wheat that you have mentioned?
The government has a strategy. His Excellency has ensured that agric is given serious consideration year in, year out since he came in. Provision of work tools to the farmers, fertilizer, and of course the required training and skills that would ensure that they move away from subsistence farming to mechanized farming. Yes.
Let me ask Dr. Mohammed that same question. You're the money man, so it's easy for you to just bring out the money for him. But in terms of planning, I'm pretty certain that those things must have come to. So what are those raw materials, those products, the industry advantage that Gombe has, that any investor, both at home and in diaspora, as you mentioned earlier, will be happy to come put their money in?
Yeah. Okay, just to add that I think it's a rider to the contribution of the Honorable Commissioner on the environment. Yeah. The 3G, the 4 million trees, is actually part of the 25 million trees commitment by Nigeria, because the Gombe is the only state that actually had a viable program, as at the 2015 Climate Summit, the UN General Assembly. Coming back to this, it is not just today that we woke up to say we're having a summit. There was a detailed sector scan across all the local governments to determine, what each local government has comparative advantage across. We arrived at 17 key areas, pruned it down to about 5. And agriculture and livestock, because most of the times when we talk about agriculture, we ignore livestock because it appears that it is just like an afterthought. Agriculture, livestock, and biotechnology, surprisingly, within this particular region, and the services and hospitality industries are some of the key priorities in this. So now, with regards to the areas of our comparative advantage in terms of cropping, Gombe, wheat, rice, tomato, because where the industrial park is located up to Balanga Dam is our irrigation belt. And Balanga Dam actually is the only dam that we can work with that is not with federal encumbrance, because it's fully state-owned. And right now, we're actually, His Excellency is in discussion with UNIDO. We actually have had an agreement to ensure that within the next 1 or 2 weeks or so, that the small hydro power, because one, it was set up for irrigation, but it's to be made into a dual purpose dam, for which will increase the irrigation and agri-processing, because we want a value chain approach, while the industrial park is looking at all the crops and so on from one side. The Balanga Dam will actually look at not power, but will have both crops and the capacity to be able to process.
Exactly.
Yes,
I was going to ask about the process when you talked about the value chain.
Yes.
Is this part of, or is Gombe part of the special agro-industrial processing zones of the AFDB?
Yeah, AFDB, yes. We have been in conversation with the AFDB. I think Gombe is in the second phase. It's in the second phase. And, you know, the thing is that with development partners, one, they aggregate around your plan. And two, your plan gives you the confidence to now say, look, if you cannot align behind our plan, go away with your money, because you don't want a distortion. So that is very, very key. And we have been, AFDB is actually interested in knowing that, look, whatever it is that's a brownfield, the agro-industrial park qualifies in total. There's power, there's developed infrastructure, road networks, electricity and access, whatever. And there's not supposed to be a new investments when you're looking at, partners. So what we're talking about right now, it gives us the confidence to sit down with AFDB and say, look, if you want to use our industrial park to brand yourselves or your SAPZ, then we have to talk. And that's the issue. So a plan gives us confidence. A plan ensures that we walk in the direction of a clearly defined vision to transform Gombe State into a healthy, educated, innovative state propelled by peace, efficient infrastructure, sustainable environment, and good governance.
This sounds like a mission statement already.
No. Yes, absolutely so.
Is there any synchrony with the federal government in this? I know that, there's this National Livestock Transformation Plan and all those other things. I mean, when you mention livestock, that's why I'm asking the question.
Yes.
Any synchrony with the federal government in this?
Absolutely. One, we're in synchrony with the federal government in two particular areas. Number one, our development plan was launched ahead of the 5-year medium-term national development plan. However, it's fully in alignment with it because we, Gombe, was fortunate to be on the technical committee for the medium-term national development plan. Second, livestock transformation plan, we have keyed in right from the beginning because we have 146,000 hectare hours in a grazing reserve that is the largest in sub-Saharan Africa. And currently we're working with Mexico to be able to undertake a study and establish about 5 business cases.
How far gone is that conversation? Because, many people have just been wondering, so it's all plans, all thoughts, all ideas, but speeding up the process such that we can see, that there is work actually ongoing on the partnership with the federal government. That's something that would be good to see.
We are already signed up. I mean, if you look, the meeting the Honorable Minister of Agriculture had with the Governors Forum, reeled out the states in the first phase of the livestock transformation plan. Gombe is on it. On the LPRES World Bank program that is also targeted at livestock, Gombe is a part of it. So we believe that before the end of the year, we actually would be able to ensure, things will start happening because since it's not we're in alignment with the federal government livestock transformation plan, at least we need to call on the federal government to speed up and because we're actually ready. But as you know, when we started our conversation with the Special Agro Processing Zone, it was about 3 years ago.
Yeah,
Wow. It was,
I would come in here too.
Yeah.
You know, the thing is, the livestock transformation plan has been on, as you said, for a long time.
Yeah.
And we are worried, as every other Nigerian is, that this program has not been able to take root and be able to, you know, begin to have, you know, for us to be able to reap the gains of the plan. The headers are still moving around. We've not been able to create that, you know, the ranches. We've not been able to settle them in a place where they are able to do their, you know, activities without hindrance to others. And the Gombe, of course, has taken the lead. We have the area, the ranch, and as he said earlier mentioned, Mexico is doing a study for us. We are not waiting for the federal government, just like we didn't wait for African Development Plan, African Development Bank with our industrial park. They came in, we started discussing about the agro-industrial, you know, industrial park. But His Excellency, with his vision and his determination, moved ahead. Today, we've invested over 11 billion at the park, and the park is almost 80% or so completed.
What's the projected revenue?
Projected revenue from the park over the 10-year period, of course, will be in, we're talking about $200-300 million. We're not talking about naira.
But you will expect something yearly, won't you?
Yes, absolutely. But you know that when you invest and it starts, it doesn't start from day one. You begin to reap as much as you would reap over a certain period. And then, of course, it's not only the revenues, but this number of people that will be taken from the, you know, the industries in the park. We're talking about 100 to 200,000 indirect, you know, employment.
200,000 indirect employment?
Yes.
I thought the commissioner said something like 5,000 initially. Commissioner for Information.
Direct
Jobs.
Jobs.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, with such, listen, the downstream impact is usually very much higher.
All right, so quite a number of things to look forward to. We've been speaking with Dr. Ishaku Mohammed, who is a special advisor to the governor on budget, planning and development partner coordination office, as well as Mr. Muhammad Magaji, Commissioner for Finance and Economic Development. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed, and all the best.
Thank you very much.
So much.
Yeah.
All right.
And you're
We're
welcome.
back in a moment. Thank you. We will be back in just a moment. Join us again. Today we're joined now by Dr. Umaru Kwairanga, who is the chairman, Gombe State Investment and Property Development Company. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning, Chamberlain. Welcome to Gombe.
Thank you.
The joy in the savannah.
Okay. Well, your office is the one organizing this summit. So, what is the? I know we've spoken about why, but what would you expect at the end of the day for your office?
What we expect at the end of the day is to show investors the potentials we have in Gombe State. We have numerous investment opportunities, and we believe those opportunities are part of the things that investors are looking for all over the world. Investors are looking for return on investment. Whoever is putting his money for an investment, you usually look at what is the end result of that, in terms of dividends, in terms of issue of profit and the rest. So what we try to do in this summit is to introduce to those potential investors the numerous investment opportunities around Gombe State. Those opportunities, I can be able to categorize them into two: the natural endowments we have and the purposeful leadership in terms of policy initiatives by our current governor. Because of his background, he has seen it before. Even before he assumed leadership, he set up transition committees that will look at so many sectors of the economy, which include the issue of investment. And I believe this is an opportunity that we have brought the captains of industries all over the world, financial institutions, both locally and internationally. We have the IFCs, the Islamic Development Bank, African Development Bank. We have the local banks that have come and supported us in this summit and give ways to the potential investors. So what we did is to bring under one roof, where we have the investors, we have the source of financing, so that at the end of the day, we can be able to bring these two together in order to achieve the aim of setting up this summit.
Speaking about the aim, I mean, you've been chairman of companies that have operated in the Southwest, in the South, and the North. You understand the business environment and what it takes.
Of course.
Organizing this summit, do you expect some sort of mindset shift of investors, because you know what they look for in those areas? And if you expect them here, how soon do you expect to see a certain kind of mindset shift so that investment can take a foothold here?
Thank you very much, Chambare. Seeing is believing. We decided to bring people so that they can be able to see what we have done on ground and what we intend to do in future. We have set up so many institutions within the government so that we can be able to at least see the way and means where we can be able to bring like a one-stop shop where an investor will come, he will get all his requirements, all his needs under one umbrella. We have a leadership that from day one has set an agenda that we cannot continue the way that we have been doing over the years. The cow that we have been milking over the years, the NMPCs of this one have already been privatized today. So that source is drying up. The government felt that for us to sustain the rate at which things are coming, population is increasing, the infrastructures are being stretched. But that notwithstanding, this government focused on that to make sure that they provided the conducive environment, first of all, provide the infrastructures in terms of road networks, water supply, power, because power is the key. I happen to be the former chairman of Ashaka Cement. Ashaka Cement has been in existence in Gombe State since when I was 10 years old, since 1979. They have never closed for a day. I believe this is a testament for investors to see, even at that level, that we have investors that have been here for long.
But you know that those companies too,
yes, please,
you need the requisite skill set, the workforce,
of course,
the human capital to make sure those things happen. So is this something that we're taking for granted that, of course, we'll find a lot of them here?
No, a lot of investment have already been done in terms of human development. We have entrepreneurial, hard-working population in Gombe State that are ready to work. They are just looking for opportunities like this. And we feel that we need to bring so many investors so that they can be able to see the potentials that are here in terms of not only the infrastructure we have provided, but the skill level that this government has invested a lot to make sure at least there is ready-made workforce that can be able to key in whichever investment that you have brought to Gombe State.
Now, your state won the award for the ease of doing business in 2021.
Yes, please.
So let's get to the practicals now. You're the chairman of the Investment and Property Development Company.
Yes, please.
So for the companies, the FDI is coming in that you are, wooing to bring their investments in.
Yes.
What are the T&Cs in terms of accessing property? What's the term for lease? And how easy is it to access properties that they require for the investments?
Thank you very much. This government have revitalize this institution where I chair. As of today, we have so many investment incentives that are there. We in Gombe State, we are not just bringing foreign direct investment, but want to partner, want to do partnership so that we can share in terms of the risks and we share in terms of the issue of the returns. We have set up different agencies that can be able to take care of some of these things you have mentioned already. We have the GOGIS that is in charge of the geographical location of where we are today, so that they can be able to take into consideration all the needs that an investor, an FDI that is coming today, in terms of looking for a land. We have already set aside land that we are ready to partner with investors that we are going to work with. We, under the Investment Property and Development Company, like we have mentioned, we have a one-stop shop, which was not there before, so that we can make sure that investors don't need to go from office to office. We have brought different agencies that will fail FDI, PE investors are looking for, so that they don't have time. They are bringing their own funds, especially now when we have a lot of challenges in this country in terms of inflation, in terms of issue of the valuation and the rest. So we want to kickstart immediately without all these bureaucracies of government. So I believe we have provided a conducive environment. We are ready to keep on with the momentum. And the first that we want in terms of ease of doing business is the same thing that we are doing in terms of the investment summit. This is the first investment summit that has ever happened in the Northeast, and Gombe in particular. And I believe this is an eye-opener for people to know that Gombe is open for business.
Now, I find it interesting that the theme isn't just talking about business.
Yes.
It's talking about industrialization.
Of course.
Sounds like a very big word, and it also sounds futuristic, because you don't just build an industry, you build businesses that will form, the hub of the industrialization. So clearly it's a long-term plan. The thinking that comes to my mind first is, you're saying that Gombe is open for business? Most certainly. What's the living condition in the environment like? Someone is coming from Denmark,
yes, please,
to invest in livestock. Dr. Mohammed mentioned that earlier, or
yes,
Netherlands,
yes, please,
to come and invest in Gombe State's livestock value chain. Talk to us about the living environment, how welcoming, amiable, and all of that it is, because it's one thing to have an ease of doing business environment, another thing to have an ease of life environment.
Okay, thank you very much. Globally, there are so many challenges all over the world, and Gombe will not be an exception. Over the years, Gombe is known in terms of issue of trade and commerce. People in Gombe State are known, I believe, not only in the Northeast, but in Nigeria, are people that are very hardworking, people that are ready to invest and partner with people that can be able to work with. So we felt that part of the plans of this administration is to make sure that in terms of the future, in terms of the IT that we are planning. And first, let me even bring you back. You need to think big if you want to achieve in this competitive environment. And it's one of the bold steps that we have taken in setting up this industrial park. If you don't think big, when you look at the investment that have so far been put into the industrial park, it's only people that have a very big heart that can be able to do that. So we have taken that into consideration to make sure that at the end of the day, we carry everybody along. We are not only looking at only Gombe State, we are looking at the northeastern region of this country. Some of the skilled labor that we don't have here, we don't mind. We can be able to bring the people from Denmark and the rest, so that at least they can be able to train our own people. As of today, we have a son of the soil that is in the UN at the second in command. She has been in the SDGs all over the world. You know the impact she has made not only in Nigeria, but globally. And we believe with those type of people that we have, and with all humility, with people like us, with our own background over the years, we believe that we are ready to carry all our numerous youth population in this environment, Gombe State in particular, to make sure that at least at the end of the day, it's going to be a win-win. You need to focus. Yeah. You need to have a purposeful leadership like that of our governor for you to move forward in this competitive environment that we're having.
All right, Dr. Umaru Kwaranga is the chairman, Gombe State Investment and Property Development Company. He's the man to hold accountable if your business doesn't work in the state. Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much, Chamberlain. Thank you very much. And let me use this opportunity to invite the channels so that they can be able to partner with us in Gombe State. Right. We need this type of institution that we can be able to tell the world who we are and where we intend to go.
Well, we're already here anyways.
Thank you, Chamberlain.
Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Welcome to you live from Gombe, where Gombe Investment Summit 2022 is holding. It's christened Go Invest 2022. Now we've got His Excellency Muhammadu Inuwa, Governor of Gombe State. Good morning, Your Excellency. Thank you for coming on today.
It's my pleasure. Welcome to Gombe.
Thank you. Well, talking about investing in Gombe, in the northeast area, I mean, you know, people will narrowly ask, wait a minute, did you say investment summit in Gombe, given the security concerns around the region, why do you still think people will want to come and invest here?
Well, investment and, in fact, issues to do with development continue. You must carry on no matter how hard the times. And even though we are located in the northeast with the security challenges, especially as those that originated from the Boko Haram insurgency and other, security challenges that abound in the whole of the country, we are not doing badly in terms of managing our internal security. And by the accounts of the Nigerian police itself and the security tracker, we are number one on top in terms of security and social services in the northeast sub-region. And that is why we feel no matter how, there's a need for us to get out to people, invite them, and let them come and explore and see how best they can join with us so that we can develop this part of the country. Could you shed a little more light?
When, the state says you are number one in terms of some of these parameters, is it as a result of what? There's been no attacks, or they repelled the attacks, did they nip them in the bud? So how did they come about being number one?
Several other factors, not just one. You see, for assessments to be done properly, there are a lot of variables that need to be considered. But principally security, and social services like health care, good schools, good access road in terms of infrastructure, and equally opportunities that abound either commercially or industrially within the environment. And so many other factors. And I think Gombe is able to manage all those, that we are able to get to the number one in terms of ease of doing business in the 2021 assessment. And that was done by KPMG, one of the most reputable consultants, not us, not anybody else.
Your Excellency, the question Chamberlain asked you first is about perception. And to many people, perception is reality. Do a simple Google search of Northeast Nigeria, what pops up. Part of the things that pops up would be security. I mean, there are those who wonder, what's the use of making money that I will not be able to live long enough to spend? So what are you doing about the image, that perception of the Northeast, the entire region, not being safe? We know it is safe. I mean, we are here and we have experienced it quite a bit. But what is being done about the perception? Because unless we do something about that perception, getting people to come in and stay for long may be an issue.
I think for that question to be answered, I need to maybe urge you people, the press people, to start to think inwards and be outward looking, in order to sell Nigeria on the positive framework instead of the negatives. Reality on ground doesn't show that all those issues that you mentioned have gotten to that level that should not should warrant globally, internationally, people looking at Nigeria to that extent. So I think administrators, governors, business people, and the journalists, all Nigerians have to come on board, trying to sell Nigeria on the positive image rather than the negative side of it. There is crime everywhere in the world, but taking our own to that level, I think we need to do a lot in order to downsize it and make us look positive instead of negative on the global side.
Your Excellency, based on that view about the fragility of Gombe State, it is said it is the understanding in the investment environment that the FDIs will come based on the measure of confidence put in place by, the domestic direct investors. So what do you have on ground to, boost the confidence of the foreign direct investors that, yes, indeed, the domestic investors are here. This is the quantum of profit that they have made. Who are the domestic investors who are here on ground? So what do you have on ground?
Well, I agree with you. Charity begins at home. And back home, so as a result of the somehow lackadaisical attitude by which maybe commercialization, industrialization, or whatever I should in the past, there is really a low ebb in terms of that. But it's still in that Gombe that 40 years ago, Ashaka Cement Company was established and had been in production for 40 years, producing not less than 1 million tons, and that has sold for all that long. Equally, if you go around, you'll see a lot of commercial activity. Ashaka is virtually the biggest industry around us. But close to us, there is Savannah Sugar. Formerly, there was Beige Fruit, which was processing vegetables and fruits and tomato, and was being exported elsewhere. Somehow, something got amiss, and I think that's what we are doing now to try and bring back all the good old days, so that our future will now be brighter and our young ones will be engaged.
You have this lofty project, the industrial park. What is the, if you can explain to us why you thought that industrial park will be appropriate at this time, and how is the region going to benefit from it?
The industrial park is a 1,000 hectare parcel of land that we segmented into 3 phases. The first phase, on which we are working now, close to completion, about 85% completed. By December, inshallah, it will be completed. The second part of it, we've been talking, and we've even gone to some degree of conclusion with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Finance, with a view to setting up an agro-processing zone, which, by the plans of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and the African Development Bank, there is supposed to be one in each geopolitical zone. And because of the comparative advantage of Gombe, we are putting 1/3 of it equally to accommodate the agri-processing zone. Already we've we've granted access and in fact approval for the Niger Delta Power Holding Company to put up a 250 megawatts solar farm that will generate
All right, welcome back. We do apologize for that break. We're just talking about the industrial park, the 10-year development plan. Your Excellency, you were trying to shed light on that 10-year development plan. And I know one of the key issues people usually wonder is ensuring that we come up with plans that you can control, because even if you were to see your tenure through, max is 8 years. And if it's a 10-year plan, the remaining 2 years could make or mar that plan. You must have thought about that. So what's the consideration?
Right from the onset, we engage people at all levels, from the ward, local government to state level. And equally beyond that, we escalated and got the endorsement of the State House of Assembly, making it a document that is owned by the people. And people within us, even the local governments, the spirit of competition has been instilled on the people. With that agenda, I think no part of the state is left behind. And so people will be competing to ensure that they align and move it forward and realize it.
Would they be breaking any law if anyone comes in and doesn't?
No, it's not really. It's no law as such. But the fact that there's direct involvement of the people and the people on it, it means they will safeguard it. So whether there's law or not, but with the stamping alone of the House of Assembly means a lot. And going forward, if this administration continues, we shall see that we move in double locks to cover of what is there. But development is not a one-day issue. It's something that has to transcend various administrations as long as it is sustained. And that is what we are doing. So we'll make sure that the message reaches the people and that the people safeguard it, so that at the end of the day, it is on them that the benefit will go to. And they will clearly defend it, no matter how.
Yeah, you have reiterated that the SDGs are at the heart of the actualization of the goals of the industrial park. We've talked a lot about the value chain in the industrial park. How are you ensuring that the people own the process from the, agricultural development to manufacturing? One of the officials said that there's also housing incorporated. So are the people going to be empowered to own land there, to own houses there, such that the entire process, it's a collective commonwealth for the people?
Indeed, yes. And one of the parameters used, in terms of assessing the enabling business environment is to access, ownership, of land and title with ease. As such, that will be the guiding factor as to what we do on the park. And eventually, there will be cohabitation for people, industries, administrative facilities, and security facilities, whatever. So along the line, I think we shall meet all targets and give people the comfort and convenience they need for investment to thrive in that location.
Your Excellency,
Yep.
Still talking about development, I'd like you to speak to us about data. I'm happy about the award of ease of doing business, and the Commissioner of Finance already told us that, government is putting in, again, to receive the award again. But this development that we're talking about, for it to be sustainable, a number of other things will be very important. Employment figures need to come down, literacy levels need to rise, and I know that you've been doing a lot in terms of education and all of that. Speak to us about some of those other figures and how this development will help to make the figures look better. Literacy figures, employment figures, poverty figures, and all of those things.
I think all those factors have been, taken care of in our development plan, and we are clearly pursuing to see to the actualization of all those targets we set in the plans. For example, when we came in, by 2019 September, we went to launch the Basic Education and Service Delivery for All. By the accounts of UNICEF and the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics then, we had about 550,000 out-of-school children in Gombe alone. But myself, I disputed that and even claimed that it was higher because for so many reasons. Influx of IDPs that found heaven in Gombe, that relocated, and growth. Instead of maybe because there was a gap of about 2 years or so. But within these 2 years plus now, we've been able to obtain nearly 400,000 out of school children and took them back to school. Not only that, our skill acquisition centers, yes, some of them have not gone the way we wanted, but we expanded on more and tried to maintain and bring back those that have failed, and we are working towards getting them better. We have the belief that training in vocation and skills is even more and better, especially with a view to getting the country or the state industrialized, than giving formal certificate Western education, which will not yield you any job, especially these days. Government alone, providing white-collar jobs, can never take Nigeria outside the woods that we are in today. The private sector, developed with this initiative that we have, is capable of absorbing a greater part. 65% of our youth, of the population are youth between the ages of, up to 45, and most of them, their accounts are the same elsewhere. But that of the Northeast is even worse, because by the indices, the Northeast and the Northwest are the lowest in terms of economic prosperity in this country. So opening up by providing the basics and connecting the odds and the rights, I think is going to help us out of the situation.
So I'm happy. Sorry. I'm happy that you talked about the young people, and it's a major concern. The world is talking about the youth bulge. Africa, Nigeria itself is talking about some 60–70% of the voting population being, young people. What's their buy-in? We know generally young people are not very patient with government at various levels. What's the buy-in strategy, sustainable buy-in strategy for young people?
Well, that is a very, very Herculean task, I know. And it is a global problem, but that of Nigeria is unique, especially obviously where the numbers are very high. But along the line, we've been able to convince them, take them. Like, for example, in one initiative we have that we call GOSTEC, Gombe Security, Traffic and Environment Control Corps, we've been able to engage. We plan to engage 2,000. We've engaged a lot of them, in agricultural practice through our agricultural, improvement initiative, and also in production. You might have gone to the small industrial cluster we have around for oil and rice milling. When you go, you'll be amazed. You see the numbers; they are really quite huge. I think about 25,000 of them, mostly youth, engaged in production. In fact, that is one of the reasons that motivated us to think of getting bigger and putting up better places so that we'll accommodate them going forward.
Speaking of the literacy levels that Ayo raised initially, how has your education drive been able to reduce the number of out-of-school children? And while you're answering that, also talk about girl child education. What's your disposition, towards improving the lot of girl children?
We do not segregate in terms of, trying to see that we are all inclusive. And this administration in particular has given prominence to women so that we can encourage the girl child, to see and follow their steps. We've been able to, ensure that amongst our local government chairmen there is a woman. We've been able to ensure that all local governments have at least a woman councillor, so that it could be a source of motivation for the young girl child. And equally, with the chairperson of the Civil Service Commission is a woman. And equally, the chairperson of the Teacher Service Commission. There's a lot of recognition given to women. In fact, as of today, the acting chief judge too is a woman. So the women are carried along, and they are encouraging the girl child as well to copy them.
So what are the numbers
forward
at the elementary education level to the secondary level that you have been able to shore up in terms of enrollment?
I don't have the statistics of it, but at least the general population is what we are considering. We don't segregate. That is what I mentioned. The girl and the male children are really carried along. We are trying to ensure that we are educated, 100% literate, very soon, inshallah, in accordance with the Sustainable Development Goals.
The state prides itself as an SME state. How so?
It's so because by the nature of the economy around, we are virtually within the either middle or low class of the economic strata of this country. So the small and medium scale enterprises are really the focus. They're the key. And we have an interface with them, whether it's through their cooperative societies or through trade unions. And they're keen into whatever agenda government has with regards to enhancing and focusing on small and medium enterprise.
On that same thing,
Okay.
I'm very curious.
Yeah, but
give me 60 seconds.
Well,
I'm
we
not
need
a
to go
cat.
to break. Don't worry, we need to make money. We'll be right back in just a moment. Stay with us. Muhammadu Yahya, Governor of Gombe State. Of course, yes, we're coming to you live from Gombe. GOINVEST 2022 is holding this year. And we're talking about the SMEs. You got a question, right?
Yes, perhaps particularly because on the average, it's a global standard that every economy is sustained by 60-70% of the way by small and medium enterprises. The concern most of the time has always been their sustainability. Most people are in business for sustenance, not for sustainability. Your strategy clearly, you clearly have a strategy for helping them to be sustainable so that the economy of Gombe State can grow as they grow. What is the strategy for them? Because it's one thing for you to have the strategy for them. It's another thing for them to understand the goal of government in helping the economy of Gombe State to grow.
Well, for several reasons, we have a continuous engagement, especially with those that have set up, small industries and enterprises. We are part and parcel of them. They are part and parcel of us. We are interrelating. And if you go by the number of applications, even as at today, at the Muhammadu Buhari Industrial Park, we find that out of close to 300, over 200 are the small and medium enterprises that are from within, not somewhere else. And I think we have the window to accommodate as much as possible. We'll expand on that and ensure that not only within Gombe, within the other parts of the state, in the other senatorial districts, we're able to have such clusters that will encourage, and facilitate them keen into real production, so that along the value chains of either agricultural production, agro-allied processing, marketing, and distribution, we're able to uptake a number of the people.
How about business education for them? I mean, once you make profit, they just want to spend. So what's the...
No. The typical Gombe person, if you go around, you find that, by nature, he's an entrepreneur, very skilled, no matter how. Even if not in the international financial standard, at least with the rudiments of proper financial management for him to survive in his own business. I think we'll be able to, and we'll set up a microfinance bank owned by the state that is spread within all the local governments. And there are other 5 more microfinance banks within the state. So 6 microfinance banks in the small state that is just about 20,000 square kilometers, I think are not doing badly. Plus, the effect of other banks and financial houses that are supporting small and medium enterprise. The spirit or idea of financial management, I think, has been inculcated in them for quite a while.
For the big businesses, Your Excellency, I know it is said that, government has no business doing business. Regardless, what's the equity that the Gombe State government hopes to, take when he begins to sign those documents, the dotted lines with the big corporations that you intend to attract to the state, such that you can add value to the products that are coming to Gombe State, and Gombe can have some form of a sense of belonging in whatever will be taken off as big business.
There's no fixed percentage of equity. It depends on what you get on the negotiating table and your ability to finance what you intend to take. But nonetheless, the order these days is for government, instead of directly investing, to encourage private investors to put in money. Luckily, the Gombe State Investment and Property Development Company is chaired by, in fact, has a complement of board members that are very renowned and very knowledgeable in financial management and financial, inclusion. We've been able to, see that whatever we do and whatever we're doing is eventually going to go into the private hands, because the private hands are better managers in terms of, operations of businesses or economic activities.
But the government would own something at least, such that you can protect the interests of the population.
But our experience has it that, for example, Ashaka, that I've told you has been there for 40 years, was initially owned by a conglomeration of states through the NNIL, the NNDC, and Northeast or Bauchi State, and whatever. But at the end of it, it had to go off. The Bureau for Public Enterprise is busy trying to sell off all the assets so that government, by its nature, government doesn't manage businesses well. So if we encourage the private sector, I think it will be for the betterment of the system, and it may be more sustainable.
Well, just to shed light on this, because you were speaking about private sector, access to capital, but some data here, even though it was as of December 31st, 2020, Gombe total debt stock was what, 98.86 billion. That made it, 25th most indebted in the country, with 84.97 billion naira domestic debt and the like. So what are you doing to free up capital? Because if it continues this way, isn't all those SMEs that you have, isn't this going to hamper their access to capital?
Not really. We have set up a revenue optimization company that is coordinating all the revenue yielding assets of the state. And we've taken it along the line, of profitability instead of just putting in for, and whatever we do, we ensure that at least there is returns and we are able to manage the debt profile of the state, even though, it's something that is not built over one day. We inherited and we are trying to manage, put on the table, I think, net, what we repaid and what we are able to borrow is for us to continue, expanding on providing social services. I think we are better off than many other states. Our 35th position notwithstanding.
I know the state thumps its chest concerning this World Bank assisted states financial transparency accountability program.
Yes,
SafeTAS.
Yeah.
So is this something that the state is looking to sustain in terms of institutionalizing that moving forward? Because it's supposed to be a 4-year program. So
that has been the spirit on which SafeTAS itself was built, and the project or program has closed now. But sustainability was part, of the, the whole agenda, and we've provided the framework on which we shall sustain all our fiscal regimes and policies over time. And going forward, we have imbibed that spirit of, ensuring that whatever we do is sustainable. Because if we abandon, it will mean we go back to ground zero, which is not what we need now.
So what is the thinking? I know one of the commissioners spoke about you reduce your recurrent expenditure. So if more investments come into the state, you may require more hands to do a couple of other things. So is it that you put a seal? How did you reduce the recurrent expenditure?
Well, you see, block leakages, reduce unnecessary overheads, and leverage the little savings to be put in better ways that will be more beneficial to the people. That is principally what we did. But above all, see, if at all sustainability is to be guaranteed, the framework on which good governance is ensured, that can leverage on little savings, to be put into capital projects that can impact on the lives of the people is the key. And that is principally what we are doing. So I don't think what you are saying may be apt compared to going by the basis on which Gombe is being managed these days.
I know that it's an election year.
Yep.
And if you're coming up with investments in an election year, what was the thinking with the team? Because many will say, well, wait a minute, What if we're not sure if you're going to return? Well, should we still come and invest, or should we wait until after the elections?
Well, investors, yes, could have that fear, but let me assure them that for Gombe in particular, with the development and the principles on which we build, the business environment, and are pursuing to see that there's sustainability in the business environment, they should have there is no cause for alarm, and they shouldn't have any fear. We will ensure that whatever happens, there is guarantee for its investment, and there is guarantee for return on investment for serious investors.
Your Excellency, talk to us about the grazing reserves, and Commissioner talked about the delay in the takeoff because of the critical nature of that subject, as it would address conflict resolution between farmers and herders. I'd like to know why the state government is choosing grazing reserves rather than an option that would encourage, the herders to take up a more sedentary lifestyle, like what the Kaduna state government is doing with its own, ranching solution.
What we see, where we are talking of is where was the grazing reserve. It's a very huge parcel of land, maybe as big as the size of maybe a state in the southeast, 144,000 hectares of land, that is gazetted and that can provide for all those ranches that you mentioned. But the idea is not only just for, livestock production, but utilizing livestock to develop the value chain. If along the line you put a slaughterhouse, a cold store, provision for medical facilities for the livestock, businesses evolve around such activities. And when that is done, it will mean that there is an ecosystem, that sustains business and, in fact, environment joined together. That is one of the keys. There is advantage in having that, and there is advantage in going the way of having a grazing reserve. By the accounts we have, since 1928, a grazing reserve was established in Gombe by the colonial administration. And as of today, there are 56. Yes, there has been a lot of encroachment and vandalization on the issues, as normal, as usual, as it happens elsewhere. But specifically, the grazing reserve is really being protected, and we are really partnering. Right now, Mexico is assisting in seeing how water could be transferred from the river Gongola to come downstream, so that there will be availability of water.
So when will it take on life? When will it become a reality?
Now, well, you see, there are so many issues attached to it, part of which is, getting committed and serious investors. Centralization or over-centralization of policy and implementation somehow hampers development. The Federal Ministry of Agriculture and the federal government, through the National Livestock Transformation Project, has been working on livestock transformation since 2017. Today, we are some 5 years away, and nothing serious has been done, and that is really not helping matters. Equally, over politicizing issues. Because, for example, Taraba State, where a lot of livestock abound and there is available land, has no reason to insist on ranching, when even by the nature of the place, ranches are already existing there. There must be flexibility, and each state could go with its peculiarities in order to ensure that, you sustain business and you give life to people, and their livelihoods too are protected. Our people here are 85% farmers, peasant farmers for that matter, and within them either involved in livestock or crop production. So taking care of them should be the business of government.
Your Excellency, I'd like to follow up on the livestock part that Bukola just mentioned to you, which you responded to. Scaling it up and sustaining it long term, I think it is something that will be of value. I remember, was it the Federal Ministry of Agriculture saying that the value of the livestock sector, the livestock sector of agriculture in Nigeria is worth something in the region of 30 trillion naira.
Yep.
Now, you've also talked about how the slow government is, federal government is in getting these things off the ground. Why that is, you're the governor, you might be able to know. But in terms of getting this off the ground from Gombe, according to the plan that you have with your lieutenants, agriculture coming tops and livestock definitely playing a significant role. What, in your opinion, would be the go-to thing for any investor watching you right now and saying, I want to go there and do livestock and bring out return on investment and perhaps stay here for more than 40 years, going by what Ashaka Cement has done?
Yeah, I think one consideration for the enabling environment, provision of such, facilities like the agricultural or the livestock or grazing reserves that we mentioned, and facilitation of, relationships with the business community and accessibility to market. I think Gombe being central with all those facilities I mentioned is the key. I think that is our selling point. And I would like to encourage people to come and see, because seeing is believing. I would prefer that people come, take the risk, come and evaluate and give us, what we deserve by coming to join us.
Any incentives?
Oh, certainly.
Incentives?
Incentives. Well, not only the one I mentioned, but in terms of, tax holiday, in terms of, provision of skilled, or semi-skilled, manpower, which is required. And our effort that we are making towards, industrializing and providing, technological knowledge to our children should be an advantage.
Well, speaking about the business of politics, well,
I'm sorry.
Well, the different.
Are you a politician?
I'm not. I know it's investment, but there's no business of politics, isn't it? Well, the opposition in the States has accused your party, or you, of being high-handed in handling affairs in the States. They say demolition of their campaign offices and things like that, saying the States have just not been tolerating them in the States here.
But that's not true. You can't go to Lagos and put up, a structure anyhow that has not formal approval, that, can temper onto the access or security or peace of the people. That structure you mentioned is sited directly opposite the presidential lodge. It's directly just some 10 meters in between a government quarters that is housing, the justices of the Court of Appeal. It's directly on the road that leads to the government house. And so many other, there are businesses, within the premise, and did not get the clear consent of the regulatory authorities to turn it into a political office. And with the risk attached, especially to, in these days, when you cannot guarantee the conduct of youth vanguards that could be engaged, there is need for policy to be ensured that, to be complied with, and there is need to be, assured that you secure the lives and properties of the people. That is the key.
So what was their error? Was it that they didn't get approval, or they turned it into a political office where they should not have?
Look, as at today, that property has not paid ground rent in the last 25 years. 2, the application they sent was not for a political party office. It was for a good governance group that we feel that could be essential. And it was only for them to put a billboard, not to turn it into a political campaign office. 3, there had been businesses around. You can't cohabitate, a political office with a pharmacy, with a supermarket, and with other businesses when, you are exposing them to such risks. Those are the factors that people must consider. It's not that we are pulling. In fact, as at today, APC is a dominant party in Gombe. We shouldn't fear to the extent that we destroy. Rather, we help to
But they said APC just came on board. How is it a dominant party all of a sudden in Gombe?
We have, go and find out. 3 senators, 6 members of the House of Reps, myself as governor, and 19 out of 24 members of the House of Assembly. So how do you explain that?
But for that building, when did the state discover this error? Because, why wait until now? before all of these things came through?
It was within the splash of how it happened and what we did. Nothing more.
But as things turn out now, because they are thumping their chest saying, look, Gombe State has always been PDP, and they are boasting that they will make sure that yourself don't return.
The people are there to judge. Give us the time, and we'll see. I'm telling you, we are ready. We shall return back to office by the grace of God.
Let's look at national politics now, as we move away from state politics. Your Excellency, what's your disposition towards your party's Muslim ticket and the opposition within the party that has been branded unserious, posed by the former speaker and Mr. Babachir?
Well, you see, it depends on the understanding and how people look at this thing. Politicians could go to any length, trying to dissuade or confuse people. But for me, I think it's not religion. Neither is it tribe nor region that is a solution to the Nigerian problem. Quality of leadership is the key. And I think the team we have is capable and it can lead Nigeria out of the woods.
One of the things that will also come to many people is, okay, APC continues to talk about the 16 years of PDP and how it wasn't fantastic as far as the APC is concerned. But then there are those who are also asking the question, what's APC got to market with? Why should the people say, okay, let's try that one more time?
You have to understand that, you see, Nigeria is within the global village. The dynamics, and the odds that we come to play with are really very, very tough. That, made it nearly impossible. In fact, it takes, the pragmatism and, and the doggedness of leaders like Buhari now to get us to this level. Well, if it were for the PDP, the whole thing started. It started and it continued. It may continue further, but there has to be light at the end of the tunnel. And that's why we want to see that we ensure good leaders succeed the president so that going ahead, Nigeria will improve.
Well, Your Excellency, one of the things that many will find thorny is the ASU strike. It just ended after 8 straight months. So to many people, the question is, what value does this government place on education that the tertiary institution, which is supposed to be the think tank of the nation, would be on strike for 8 months?
But you see, that is an issue that, like, for example, I gave to you, that started earlier on. An agreement that was signed carelessly without really, ensuring that you can enforce or apply, is something that has triggered all this issue. And if you insist, for example, now that Nigeria has this problem financially, and you want to enforce those conditions that you couldn't much earlier, some 10, 12 years back, I think you are not doing justice to yourself.
What do you think you formed that decision was? Do you think it was political?
To some extent. There must be some political element, to the extent to which that strike extended to this time.
No, I'm talking about the agreement that was signed then. You said it wasn't.
Oh, yes.
You think it was political?
There must be some reason.
Politics on the part of whom now, Your Excellency? Government
as leaders,
or
our words should be our bond. Whatever you agree on, make sure you can implement. If you can't implement, it will mean that it's going to be a burden on whoever succeeds you. The issue of ASU is not a new one. It's something that has been generated long ago. And if today we are not able to take a solution and solve it, it will continue going forward. Strike by ASU has been a recurring issue. And I have the belief that even now, it is going to be maybe on a temporary basis. We need to find a permanent solution to it.
What would you recommend?
I would recommend that we look inwards and see that we empower people enough, to be part of, as stakeholders, parents, associations, town communities, and whatever should be involved in managing these universities by way of support. Because federal government alone cannot support the Nigerian.
So is that some sort of autonomy?
The universities are already autonomous.
But not financially.
No, what do you mean?
Where do they get their funds?
From the federal government and from their own sources, because they have internal revenue which they generate.
Yeah, but they don't. When they say
Government
when
is
they generate
subsidizing.
it goes to TSA.
Government,
they don't just spend when they generate. Government
not
has to
really.
allocate.
Go and look deeper. A certain percentage goes to them for the day-to-day running of their own administration.
Government approves it for them. Allocates the funds.
No, they have councils, and they have administrative staff that are in charge. So councils are different from the federal government. But reliance on federal government for the resources to run the universities at this point in time, I think is something that we need to look deeper into.
Politicization of the issue. I'm interested in that. Is it on the part of the federal government or on the part of ASU? When you talk about why it lasted this long?
See, on both parts, because it could revert the other way.
So what politics was ASU playing?
Who knows whether they played into the gambit of...
You're the one that referred to it as politics.
They played into the gambit of a political party. Who knows?
But just as we wind down, many the view that your party will not win the elections in 2019 because they wonder what records... Yeah, 2023 elections.
Many.
What record?
Many.
Yeah, there are lots of people who think, no, we won't vote for your party.
That could be our own opinion. But I am confident that we shall win power and form the federal government
they be campaigning
and
on?
even the states.
Or what would they be campaigning with?
What do you mean?
Is it the security situation in the country? Performance of the economy? Or the state of unemployment in 5 years?
What is the economy in the UK and the US at the moment?
We don't live in UK. We've voted no party
I'm telling you, it's a global issue. So compare your
situation. We didn't elect the party to fix our problems and not to tell us the global issue.
For the solution to come, we need to key in the serious disconnect that some maybe opposition politicians try to build within is not going to help the situation. We need to, there's a need for a connect between people, government, governance, and politics. I think that should be the drive.
All right. Well, we need to go at this point. We thank you very much indeed. We'll be speaking with His Excellency Muhammadu Inuwa, Governor of Gombe State, and we're talking about Gombe Investment Summit, even though the business of politics came up. It's an election year, so what could we do about that? Well, that is the show today. We thank you all for watching. We've come to you live from Gombe State. We'll see you next week. I am Chamberlain Uso.
Yeah, we wish Gombe State all the best as it goes to this conference. And many more investors will come. Thank you for watching Sunrise Daily on Channels Television. I am Bukola Samuel Wemimo.
Just to remind you, yes, I'm going to the dates again. October 12 to 14, the set of the summit of Gombe State Investment Summit. Keep the dates and find out more on the internet. I'm Mario Makinde. Have a wonderful rest of your day.